Howdy, folks. What's going on? It's Outlaw Hatfield back at you one more time on a windy, stormy, nasty Tuesday. It is rough out there. We got thunder, we got lightning, we got wind, rain. It's just been all kinds of fun. We've already lost electricity once. Hoping to get through this show tonight without losing it again. Let's hope for the best. With me right now, I've got Squib. How you doing, brother?
Hey, Ellis.
Anything new with you?
No, I'm actually able to jump on because I'm up on the roof right now. So I don't have any distractions from work. It's not too loud up here.
Oh,
Once
that's
a week
cool.
I got to do inspections on the roof at work. So sometimes that's a good time to either listen in or weasel
Join
in
in.
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we are always glad to have you. Gun-loving Grandpa Stanley, how you doing, Brother Scott? How are you, Rich White? How are you doing, brother? How we doing over on the Gun Channel side? We got P&W Woods, Rich. You're everywhere, Rich. And, of course, Squib's over there. Gunpowder, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm making me a pot of coffee because it's going to be a busy work day. I'm going to try to get some stuff out there for our gun gals. Other than that, I ain't got much. I'm just trying to keep my kids alive and keep my sanity.
How's that new Gun Gals channel going? Is it running smoothly for you?
It's running.
So I heard that if a male member of Gun Channels wanted to come on to Gun Gals, he had to identify as a female in order to do so.
No, he's just got to wear a dress.
Oh
blue
my
dress?
gosh. Is Midnight getting that dramatic with it? Okay. So the conversation was because we are now on Patreon. And so we were wanting to make it so we had different levels for our tiers or whatever you want to call them. And, you know, you've got your $1, your $5, and your $10. For us as gun gals, we were thinking that we could have the $10 tier and someone would be a guest on the show that wasn't normally a gun gal. But apparently Midnight got his pooty poo hurt over it. I mean, this whole men's feet matter movement and gun gals talking tears. He got his feelings up in a roar. Somebody needs to get him some Midol or something. But, you know, if you're, I don't know how to say that where it would sound right, because I don't even know how to really say it yet. But if it's not really pertaining to gun gals, you know, we're trying to make it so our channel sticks with education, firearms, accessories, stuff like that. And then each one of us gun gals brings something different to the table. Like some of it, well, all of us like crafting or miscellaneous things like that. But the people that we try to bring on are helping the channel. I don't want to say helping, like that's just their goal. I feel like I'm just putting my foot in my mouth here.
That's more or less what I was trying to do. I'm just messing with you. I don't care if there's an all females thing. I'm not into that whole we've all got to be equally represented, or I'm not interested in there being a sale on men's shoes or anything. So
Well, listen, okay, I'm totally with that movement because as a wife buying shoes for a dude with big feet, that buy one, get one would really help my pocket. So
but
I
the buy
think they
one
should
get
do
one,
it.
that's there for when your wife is shopping for shoes for you, because otherwise guys go to the store and we don't care. We don't care if it's on sale. We don't care. We care if it's a gun's on sale. We care if ammo's on sale, but clothing, stuff like that, no. But now,
Really?
you know,
You
if your
didn't give me
wife's trying to
attitude?
get you a gift, she's going to look for a good deal the same way she would for herself. or for one of her female friends. But no, I'm just giving you a hard time, Gunpowder. That's all. I'm just messing with you.
Okay. I'm still trying to.
Okay. So to be more direct, I'm not interested in girls showing up to the Boy Scouts, if you know what I mean.
Oh, okay. Don't even get me started on that one because I ain't either. I have managed to piss off a lot of people on my Facebook over that topic.
Good for you. Good for you.
What have you said that pissed them off, honestly?
Well, usually when I open my mouth, I'm pissing somebody off. I mean, I'm talking right now. Apparently, my daughter's got her pooty poo in a wad or something.
It's just because you're on air. It's just if not, then like I'm a parent too. It's funny, they don't want to have nothing to do with you, but as soon as you sit down to watch your TV show, or as soon as you go online, or as soon as you get on the phone with somebody, all of a sudden they're all over you. And then when the phone call's over and the TV show's off, they disappear.
Yeah, it's like, screw you, I don't... Are you stuck? Is that what it is? You're stuck?
For those who do not have children, this is pretty normal.
Yeah, pretty much.
I'll tell you one better than that. I used to listen to my niece complain with her kids that they don't want nothing to do with until she goes to the bathroom, and then they're all in there with her.
Okay, that struggle is real. Like, I'm glad that our bathroom door locks because my kids are heathens. Like, they're trying to look underneath the door. They're sticking their hands and their fingers up under the door. And they're like, Mama, what are you doing? Mama, I need you. Can I take a piss by myself, please? I just need 5 minutes. Just leave me alone. Let me pee by myself. Or take a bath. I like taking a bath by myself, too. Can you just leave me alone? No. That's why I'm glad.
They figure that it's not any fun if they're not messing with you while you're doing it.
Pretty much.
Well, you know you can put the mom curse on them, right? You know, the whole, one day I hope you have kids just like you, and then it really happens. And then later in life they go, damn, Mom got me.
Yeah, I tell my mom that all the time because she told me back when I used to say I'd never want to have kids. She's like, one of these days you're going to have kids, and they're going to be 10 times worse than you ever were. And I'm like, whatever, that's why I ain't having kids. And then I did, and my kids have the attitude I have as an adult before they hit the age of 2. And I'm like, oh, Lord, help me. Please give me strength. Help me keep my sanity. Give me courage to get through this day without, throat punching their father for talking me into this is going to be a good idea. Baby, I'll make some moonshine. It'll be fun.
You ever notice you look at people your age who don't have any kids, and they look so much more younger and vital, like they haven't had somebody suck the life out of them?
Oh, yeah. I've got a friend that just turned 30, and she doesn't have kids. And she's always sleeping whenever she wants. She just got a dog, and it's already house-trained. And she's like, I sleep all the time. What do you mean you don't get sleep? And I'm like, oh, I hate you. When you have kids, you'll understand. And she's like, but my dog is like my kid. No, that's not the same. You can put your kid in a cage. I put my kids in a cage. CPS is going to be called. There's a huge difference between dogs and children.
Yes, there is.
CPS is the big determining factor.
Yeah, they sort of frown if you put your kids out at night.
Yeah. I mean, I sit there and take my kids and put a chain on them and put them out in the middle of the backyard in a little doghouse, and I'm the worst parent in the freaking neighborhood, but you do it to a dog and give my kids a bowl of water, and they're like, what is the matter with you?
Here lately, I've seen more and more parents with those child leashes. So it's not far from.
I've got 3.
What if there was a daycare named the Kid Kennel?
I would sign my kids up first day.
You'd have to bring in proof that they got their rabies and distemper and their Bordetella shots up to date.
Right?
Oh, Lord have mercy, man.
You might want to put mine in solitary and med away from the other children. They have a tendency to bite. Got all their shots. They're kind of unsocial, and we haven't quite figured out people are not food. My daughter bites everybody.
Gunpowder, it'll get better.
I know it's my fault.
No, it won't.
Yeah, it won't.
It won't.
My son, they're like, oh, it's just a phase. He's going to grow out of it. No, because there's been a couple of nights that he'll sit there and get in bed and rolls over and either bites my shoulder or something. And I'm like, with you. And he's passed in his sleep biting people. And I'm like, what the hell are you dreaming about? Really got to quit letting my kids watch zombie movies, I think.
Well, there ain't nothing wrong with zombie movies.
It's not until your kids think it's okay to go around biting people. Thankfully, they haven't bit a stranger yet.
Well,
Will that happen?
Hopefully it never will.
I'm all.
You know, my mom said that to me.
I
too,
ain't making
by the way. One of these days you're going to have kids that's worse than you. No, I still ain't had no kids. I avoided that shit. Like the plague.
I should have listened, everybody, when they said, you're never going to sleep again. I'm like, whatever, my kids are going to be wonderful. They're going to be natural sleepers. They're going to have their sleep schedule. They're going to wake up at a decent hour, go to sleep at a decent hour. They're going to eat great. No, the mother that I was before I actually had kids, that was a delusion, because no parent ever turns out the way they thought they were going to have it. And your kids never come out the way you thought they were going to do it.
That's okay, Travis. It's okay that you're cooking. You're not the only Travi that cooks. We understand that. Now, Travis, I sent him a link, and he's like, I'm cooking dinner. And I was like, well, that's okay. Wait a minute. I thought Midnight did your cooking for you. He was like the
Still waiting on a sandwich.
He's like the official Travi chef or some shit. Fry cook. I guess I was wrong. Well, guys, I got a topic that I was wanting to run by y'all a little bit tonight.
All right.
Back after 9/11, there was a lot of changes done in the government, and they've instituted new laws and new regulations trying to keep us safer. See how well that worked. And one of the things that they did was the National ID thing, this Real ID Act. And in 2020, this thing is supposed to be in effect across the United States. Without the Real ID, you cannot go into any kind of federal buildings. You cannot fly airplanes, so you can't get on an airplane. If I'm not mistaken, the only way around that is if you got an international passport or something. Then you can. And we're talking about setting up checkpoints throughout the United States. Am I the only one that sees this as a real bad idea?
Sounds pretty communist to me.
Yeah, it definitely it sounds like more like 1930s Germany.
See, when you go to vote, whether it be in a state election or a national election, your state handles that. They manage that. Where you vote, the hours you can vote, how they determine who's eligible to vote as far as what they consider identification, counting the votes, blah, 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 blah. So if the national ID card is supposed to prevent voter fraud, it won't work. Because when somebody goes to the wrong polling station with a gas bill and says, look, I live over here, and they go, well, then you have to go down the street, and they throw a temper tantrum, and they go, okay, let them vote. Do you think that the person who's doing that is going to give a damn about a federal ID card? I mean, if this person already doesn't have a state ID card or a state driver's license, or they're not willing to show it, probably because they have a warrant, and they don't They don't. They're not going to want this federal thing. So I don't think it's really going to stop. It's not going to stop people from voter fraud. And I also don't think that it's really going to do anything to help the TSA because if you can fly within the country, if you have an international passport, which totally makes sense, Ellis, because the first thing I thought when you said that was, what are they going to do with all the foreigners that are here? So if you got a passport, well, guess who's trying to blow up the airplanes? Foreigners. So it's not going to stop them from getting on a plane. So really, all I see it as one more card you got to carry in your wallet, one more thing you got to renew, one more thing you got to pay for, one more hassle. I don't know about that. It'd be nice if the states would just enforce the rules, the laws when it comes to election time. And when somebody shows up at the wrong polling station because they want to vote twice or because they're too lazy or too dumb to go to the one that's closer to their house, then they don't get the vote. They don't get too bad. When they show up 5 minutes after the polls close and they're beating on the door going, I have my rights. No, you don't. But in some places, they'll do that. And these are the people that are working there that are trying to affect the vote. And it's,
I would sit there and tell somebody if they said it's my right, well, you also have the right to be here on time before we close. Since you forfeited the right to be here on time, I can deny you being able to vote because I'd like to get home to my family just like everybody else.
They don't do that around here. They don't do that. In Detroit, they got the people that work there are volunteers for one. So they're there because they want their candidate elected. And if they can slip them in and get them to vote twice, they will. And I'm sure they do it in other cities too. Or just like when they count dead people and other things like that. So I don't think a federal ID is going to stop voter fraud. I don't think it's going to stop terrorism on aircraft. So I'm really not too sure what exactly it will do other than just create a hassle. Unless they want to take some of this stuff out of the control of states.
Exactly. I think that's the point they're hitting on anyway. Gives less control to the state, more control to the federal government, and thereby take more control over the people in general.
Well, we fought a war over that, right?
Oh yeah, we did.
We fought a war over states' rights, and the side that didn't want states' rights won. And nowadays, people want states' rights. Somebody needs to draft an apology letter.
It's we're always throwing around the term slippery slope, and this one is a slippery slope. This could go bad in so many different ways. When you're talking about putting up checkpoints, and this thing's supposed to be also working with facial recognition software. So,
well, what are they trying to do? Catch illegal aliens? They already do a crap job of that anyhow, right?
You're preaching to the choir. I mean, that's crap, and I know that's crap. But in the great big scheme of things, the government looks at it as a way to gain more control over the populace. I think that's the overall goal and has been since day one when they came up with this ingenious idea. What was it, 2005? I think it was when they first came out with this. And I think it always has boiled down to the fact that they want more control, and they hid it behind the 9/11 thing. Everybody was worried back then and scared, and it could happen again, and it could happen again. Having a federal ID card is not going to change that. And these things are supposed to take the place of your driver's license.
Well, now hold up. You're saying no more driver's license? You just have a federal card, or you have to get both?
If I've read it correctly, it's a federal ID that will take the place of state issued IDs and driver's license.
Well, that ain't much different than having a state issued ID or driver's license. I thought you were going to have both. I thought you meant you're going to have both.
No. Not as far as I know. Now, that could be changed. I can look it up real quick and tell you exactly the Real ID Act.
So I'm just wondering, does this mean, okay, you have one, but now you've got to pay a higher fee?
Oh, probably.
Or there's going to be less places that issue them, so there's going to be longer waits. And I don't know how they do it in South Carolina or in Texas, but in Michigan, you can actually book an appointment. You can go online, you can book an appointment. It will text you and say, your appointment is tomorrow. It'll text you in the morning, going, your appointment's in an hour. Text you again, your appointment's in 30 minutes. You show up, and there's your number up on the board, and your phone will start buzzing, and that means go up to booth number whatever. You know, they'll have like a dozen booths in some of these, and they've only got 3 open. It's kind of like a grocery store. Why do you got 25 registers and you only have 3 open? So they do the same thing where they issue the IDs here. But a lot of people, they don't want to go online and they don't want to do that. So they'll sit in there all day, literally all day. And they may still not even get their driver's license renewed. So if they've got a system where I don't need 2 IDs and where it's more convenient and I'm not paying anymore, or it has the possibility to be just as convenient, if you even want to call it convenient, I still just don't see the point in it. But I definitely don't want to have to get 2. I don't want a state one and a federal one.
Well,
When you're in the military, you get issued a military ID card. I don't know about other states, but I remember the state of Michigan, you don't have to renew your driver's license while you're in the military, while you're active duty. Your driver's license never expires. When my father retired after 22 years, he had a Michigan driver's license that was 20 years old, and he went to go get his new license, and all the women in the Secretary of State office ran over to go look at this thing because none of them had seen one that old, and it was still legal, it was still legit, because they say you don't have to, you know, whether you live in the state or you live out of the state. Now, I don't know if other states do that. So, I mean, I don't know if it would be a situation like that where your driver's license it never expires now because you have a federal card, like a military ID, or.
I can tell you my driver's license expires in 2 years. I've got to get it renewed. And the normal wait time is at least 4 hours. You get there first thing in the morning, you're still going to wait about 4 hours because there's so many places for them to have people there. But just like the grocery store, you maybe have 3 or 4 people working that day.
You can't book an appointment there?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, eventually they'll
Not
get
at least not the ones by my house, at least. It may be different for Dallas or, you know, the other big cities, but where I'm at, no.
Yeah, they closed a lot of them here, a lot of the Secretary of State offices here, so you had less places to go. But then later they instituted the whole setting up an appointment online to try to compensate for it. But it's still not a perfect system. I mean, anything, it could be improved. If the federal ID could also be your passport, then there would be some benefit to it. I'm trying to look for something positive in this whole federal ID thing.
I could see the benefit to not having to go get a passport. That would be awesome because it's less stuff I have to worry about losing if forever I leave this country.
Yeah, I mean, if it meant I could drive over to Canada like I used to a long time ago without needing extra paperwork or enhanced driver's license, a birth certificate, something like that, maybe. I'm not that I really go over to Canada that much. It's been a couple.
Oh, when I was younger, we used to go to Mexico. I think I had to have my birth certificate.
Yeah, last year we drove all the way down to Lukeville, right on the border. We had the car right up against the gate, and we could look into Mexico, but we didn't dare drive over there because nobody had a passport or birth certificate with, and we had the kids with us too. And it's like, you do not go into another country with your children because there's a chance they will take them and not let them out. So, as a parent, you don't risk that crap. So it was just it really kind of kind of sucks because back in the day, you could just cross over and go, okay, we're in Mexico, and come back, and it'd be fine. Not anymore.
Yeah, we'd go
Or
make trips
Canada.
to Mexico just because Reynosa, where it was on this strip, they had a hardware store, a pharmacy, and then like a doctor's office, and then a bar. It was awesome. And so I had to take penicillin and all sorts of stuff when I was younger because I had bad allergies, among with all sorts of health issues. And so it was cheaper to go over to Mexico and get the medicines that I needed than pay for them at CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, any of those places.
Yeah, Canada allows drinking at 19, so you could go over to Canada and drink and go to the clubs. They got casinos in Windsor across the Detroit River before Detroit did, and they got Canadian Tire, which is a really cool hardware store. But I mean, overall, I don't really have a need to go to Canada or Mexico. But it was just when we were on vacation last year and we were that close, it would have been nice just to be able to go over there. Say we drove the car into Mexico, but you know, I mean, I don't want that convenience at the cost of any sort of infringement. I'm just trying to look for something positive with this whole
Well,
federal ID thing.
let's read this. What I'm reading here, this proposal is one more step away from the Founding Fathers' vision of a limited federal government. Our greatest homeland security is liberty, and the Founding Fathers believe our greatest threat to liberty was a central government grown too powerful. Accordingly, they set up checks on federal power by vesting authority at the individual and state levels. Real ID disrupts this delicate balance of power in two ways. The first, it turns the founders' logic on its head by forcing states to act as agents for the federal government and creating national ID card for federal purposes. Needing a real ID to board a plane or enter a federal building that would also change the balance of power in something as seemingly insignificant as a visit to a member of Congress. It goes on. The government claims that the driver's license reform will help combat illegal immigration and generally protect national security, but fails to acknowledge that the Real ID Act seriously threatens privacy and civil liberties on a national scale. We are defending privacy rights, and this is from Governor Sanford of South Carolina. We are defending privacy rights, becoming the fifth state in the country to say no to the heavy-handed Real ID legislation from the federal government. And I think that each one of you voiced your opinion in the matter debate for a larger principle of limiting federal power. So, what I'm reading here is, you know, they've got it set up so that you would think that it's going to be a good thing, that it's going to limit the access of illegal aliens or what have you into the states, but at a cost of us losing more of our privacy. Is that a fair trade?
I mean, do you think that they're really going to have effective checkpoints in the right places, and they're going to stop all these cars, and they're going to make everybody get out and show their ID, and if they don't have them, they're going to lock them up, figure out who they are, and deport them?
Who knows? But that's their way of thinking, I guess.
Oh.
How would that work for sanctuary cities, though? If you've got a checkpoint that is close to that city.
They're not enforcing those, right? They're not going into those cities going, we're going to cut all your federal funding and arrest you and throw you in federal prison if you don't repeal these BS laws that you made that are not legal. They override federal laws. You cannot do that. You can't, you know, but they don't. They don't go in there. They don't go, not only are we going to pull your funding, we're going to put the elected officials in jail, which they could do. You know, it's just something the government. So I don't see how they would enforce this in a sanctuary city. Or what if you had, you know, they were paying the sheriffs to do it because they're not going to have, federal marshals all over the place. They just they can't. They're willing to pay the sheriff's department, whatever. Maybe you've got a really liberal sheriff, and they don't like the idea of this, and they just say, no, just let them through, let them through.
Lukeville, Snoopa, Lukeville. What are you talking about, Midnight?
Lukeville.
Lukeville's on the border. It's on the Arizona border with Mexico. You drive about 3 hours through nothing, and you're there. So it's the Organ Pipe National Monument.
Okay, well, I'd never heard of it before.
Oh, it's really cool. I mean, if you like the desert, it's beautiful. But I mean, there's hardly anything out there. Actually, nothing. Arizona is way west of Phoenix, not south of Phoenix. So I guess you drive through very little of anything. But yeah, it's right there on the border, and they got a gate, and they've got not INS. What am I thinking? Border Patrol there. You have to go through. They pull you off the side of the road before you get all the way down to the border, and they look in your car and make sure that you're. I mean, I don't know what they're looking for, but if they want, they can pull you over or whatnot. They have tons of Border Patrol down there, and you don't see a whole lot of Border Patrol up here in Michigan on the Canadian border, but down in Arizona, dang, they're all over the place.
Yeah. I tell you what's weird is you don't hear too much about Canadians slipping over the border, do you?
No, because they've got free health care over there. As a matter of fact, the Canadians that I've talked to are complaining that they've got all these people coming from the Middle East to live in Canada for the free health care, for nothing more. They don't want the cold weather or looking for a job. They want the free health care, and they're milking the system. And some of these Canadians are complaining that you thought that we had areas where there was an argument over whether or not we should be speaking English or French because of the strong French population that's been there for hundreds of years, right? No, we've got places now where the argument is over whether or not to speak English or Arabic because all these and they just let them in. They just let them in, and the system is not designed to handle a big influx of population like that. So Canada's got that the universal health care, kind of like England and whatnot. So I don't know. I've heard things about rich people from Canada coming over to the United States to get better health care, just paying cash out of their pocket for better health care. But I mean, I don't know.
I don't blame them, because a lot of that you've got free health care means you get put on a waiting list if it's something serious. You need chemotherapy, you need a surgery, you've got to have dialysis, anything like that. You're now on a wait list because the numbers are so high for that's in demand.
Yeah,
so as long as you're a healthy person, it's great. But if you actually need the health care, then you've got to hope that you have enough time to get the health care.
I used to work with a lot of foreigners, especially Europeans, and the ones from England thought that it was perfectly fine to pay taxes that were so much higher than ours for that free health care, and it was fine to be on a waiting list to get that free health care and stuff like that. But I did hear some of them complain about all the foreigners coming in and not putting into the system, and more or less mucking it up for everybody else. And it's like, what do you think we're complaining about with all these illegals coming over here? I mean, yeah. So it's, I don't know. The people go, oh, well, they're so oppressed in their country. You need to open your heart, open your mind, and they just want a better life and blah. Then do what our ancestors did and have a revolution and make the most kick-ass government in the world. Even though our government has our flaws, our country is the best. And it's the best because our ancestors risked everything for our freedoms today. So why can't all the other countries in the world that have their problems look at our history and go, we need to be brave and strong like them? Because it's easier just to break the law and come across the border and be a criminal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why I am totally against giving these people that's come across the border illegally citizenship because they've already proved themselves to be criminals simply by the act of crossing that border and not doing it the right way. You have proven yourself not to be trustworthy, and you have proven yourself to be part of the criminal element that we do not need in this country. So no, they do not need to get citizenship. And
If you
these,
can't if you can't change where you're at, or you don't want to, or you're afraid to, or you're just too stupid, whatever the reason is, you can't get enough people behind you, you can't, and you want to move for freedom, then do it by the book. That's
yeah,
all. That's
exactly.
all we're asking. Do it by the book.
One of the guys that I work with, his name's Miguel. He's coming up on his visa date. It's going to run out here, and I think he said it was next month, the month after. So he's got to go back to Mexico and reapply for everything and get the paperwork back in and this, that, and the other. The kid's doing it the right way. He's 26, 27 years old. He comes here, he works, he pays taxes. His visa's up. He's going back. He's going to redo it and come back again. At least that's what he said. But,
Mm-hmm.
and hey, more power to him. I ain't got a problem in the world with that. He's doing it the right way. On the other hand, what about the 2 or 300 behind him that comes across illegally and takes our system and just runs it right into the ground? What do you do about that? We're gonna
When you're
reward
waiting in the emergency
them.
room to be seen, and you're one of the few people sitting in the waiting room that actually has health insurance that's coming out of your paycheck, and the other people don't, but they're going to get seen. And then you get the doctor bill for your deductible and your co-insurance. Why are there two things? Why is there just one? Anyhow, you get the bills for the co-insurance and the co-pay, and they're through the roof because the emergency room has to recoup the cost of paying for all those other people that are in the waiting room that are going to get seen before you that don't have insurance. And out of those,
Mm-hmm.
how many of them are actually citizens that even pay taxes or anything? So yeah, I'm going to be irritated. I'm going to be pissed off, and some people can just, oh, you're insensitive. You're this whatever. I don't care.
I'm not insensitive. I'm an American, and I want people in America to not be criminals. It's that simple. It's not difficult. If you don't,
For if this is their reasoning, if it's about illegal immigration or terrorists sneaking across the border, a card ain't going to fix none of that.
no, it's not. It never will. I think it boils down to being exactly what I said in the beginning. It's about the government wanting more control over the populace. Um, you know, this thing's supposed to be linked somehow or another with in the future. I don't know if they've done it yet or not, but they're trying to implement a facial recognition software that works hand in hand with your identification card. So anywhere you go, if there's a camera around, they can spot you, say, okay, yes, that's him because he's got the card in his pocket. His face matches what we have on file. This is who he says he is. And to me, that's just, I don't want to be spied on constantly. I don't want to be looked at
Yeah,
constantly.
I
I
don't want to
don't.
be spied on either. I'm kind of the train of thought of I don't have anything to hide because I'm not a criminal. However, I also don't like being scrutinized or spied on because I'm not a criminal. What I want to know is all the people that they catch doing stuff, it's cut and dry, there's tons of evidence, whatever it is, and these people get out. They get released, they declare mistrial, they give them low bail. I mean, look at the guy who stole that gun from the Academy Sports, right? He said, if you let me out, I will steal a gun and I will go kill this person that I was stealing the gun to kill. And they gave him like a $5,000 bail. He posted $500 and he got out. So if this facial rec is supposed to match your ID, and they go, you're not who you say you are, and they book you and they figure out you're wanted and you've got warrants and stuff like that, what's the follow up? Are they really going to prosecute the person? Are they going to arrest? I mean, are they going to keep them in prison? Or are they going to just give them a $5,000 bail and they get out and they go commit the crime anyhow. You know what I mean?
You know, but you could, or you can go the other route with that. Let's say you do have the ID, and you leave it at home. You forget it one day. It's in your wallet. Your wallet's in your other pants. What are they going to do to you then? Okay, well, you don't have your ID. We can't prove you are who you say you are, so we're going to lock you up and indefinitely until we can, at our leisure, figure out who you are. Right now, we don't have that issue. They are not going to lock you up for not having an ID card on you. It's that whole papers, please thing. You got your papers? No, sir. You're coming with us. Why? I broke no law. What proof do you have that I've done anything illegal? You don't have an ID. Not having an ID is not illegal, as far as I know. And that's the way I see this going in the future. If you don't have that card on you all the time, for some reason, then you are breaking a law, and they could basically detain you. That's just the way I see this thing going into the future.
I have had a ticket for not being able to show proof of ID at the time of a stop.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that you're going to prison over, or going to jail over. They're going to lock you up because you don't have an ID card.
Once again, it comes down to enforcement. Do they blast the person who has no criminal record but forgot their ID card, and then they set free the guy with warrants in 10 states? Or even better yet, Ellis, how about this? It's on a federal level, right? But the states don't report to the federal government. Sound familiar? And this person's got warrants in 10 states, but they don't have a federal warrant, so they let them go.
Oh yeah, it definitely has the potential to backfire all the way around. And
I'm sorry, but I just don't see how that could be good for anybody until the states and federal get their heads out of their butts and start doing their damn job.
I honestly think that at this point in time, we do not need anything like that. We don't ever need anything like that. I think we need
It's
to
just asking for trouble.
Yeah, let the states deal with the people in the states. Let the federal government deal with what they need to be dealing with. Keep it the way it is. I mean, if my ID is not good enough to get me into an airplane or a Social Security office somewhere, what's it going to take? Do I have to give a pint of blood every time I walk through the door from now on? DNA test? Yes.
Vanessa Kitty, it is not a felony to not show your identification, but it is a misdemeanor of a $250 fine.
See, here's something I don't understand. If you've got a ID or driver's license and it's expired, but you're carrying it around, and you go to buy beer, and they go, "I'm sorry, we can't sell you this beer." Why? Because your driver's license expired. Yeah, but that's my picture on there. That's my name. Here, I've got my credit card. I've got my Social Security card. I've got my gym membership. All these have my name on it. This is me. This is how old I am. Yeah, but it's expired. I understand that. I haven't paid the state for my new one, but it doesn't mean this isn't who I am and this is how old I am. Well, we can't sell you beer. Okay, you walk out of the store, you get in your car, and you drive home, and you're speeding, and the cop pulls you over for speeding. And he looks at your expired driver's license, and he says, is he going to say, "How do I know this is who you are"? No, he's not going to say that. He's going to say, "I'm going to write you a ticket for speeding, and I'm going to write you one for having an expired driver's license." He's not going to go, "I'm sorry, this picture looks like you, and the plates on your car match the registration and everything else, but I'm sorry, because it's expired, this might not be you."
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there's no logic to it. There's absolutely no logic to it. It doesn't prove that it's not, because it's expired, it's suddenly you no longer have an identity. No, you just haven't paid your money to the state. That's all. So what would happen on a federal level? If the federal government screws things up more than the state government does, what would happen?
I do not know. But, I think, like I said, a national ID might work in certain situations. Let's say you're a federal agent, then yeah, okay, I can see that. But for a citizen, every day, having to deal with, checkpoints here, checkpoints there, having to deal with not being able to go into a federal building simply because you don't have the right paperwork on you.
Okay, so how would that work for people in witness protection or people who are moving out of state or whatever to get away from an abusive spouse? How is that going to work in their favor? Because now that's going to be anywhere and everywhere. So whoever wants to find them is going to have complete access to find them
Oh yeah, your name's
if
going to be
it's
in a
something that
national.
goes across.
Your name will be in a national database,
Yeah.
and all it's going to take is somebody to hack into it, and they can find anything they want to know about you. Because,
It's
yeah,
just, it's the whole. I just don't see it. If it fixed something, if it made something more affordable, if it made something more expedient, if
oh,
it
it's going to
made
be
us
more
safer,
expensive.
if it did something positive, I might get behind it. But it doesn't sound like it's going to change anything. If anything, they might use it as an excuse to raise the cost of getting an ID. Or how about this? You go to one of those checkpoints and you don't have your ID, like you said, you forgot it, right? Now they'll fine you for not having your ID. Where maybe within your state they wouldn't, or it's just a misdemeanor, it's a small fine. But on a federal level, maybe, or you don't renew it in time. So they charge you an extra fee because now you're late renewing it and it's more than what your state would cost. Or something. I'm thinking this has the potential to the government to be able to use it to generate revenue or something else. And I just don't see anything positive with it. So I'm waiting to hear something positive. Otherwise, I just don't. It's pointless. It's like these gun laws that they come up with that don't make us any safer. They're pointless.
Exactly, and that's why I go back to the thing I said in the beginning. Yeah, it's not about security; it's about control.
Okay, so with these IDs, would it also help with your concealed carry license?
I never even thought about that, but I can say this: it would probably make it a hell of a lot harder to get a concealed carry license. Because think about it. Right now, you're going through state agencies to get your concealed carry. It's not federal; it's state. But they have to crawl through the NICS, of course, and verify everything. The FBI, blah blah blah. We all know that. But when it's on a federal level, how many thousands of people a day go through a concealed carry course and have their shit sitting in?
Well, I'm just curious, like if it would make it so whatever state you're in, you get your concealed carry license, and that license is now accepted with every state. It doesn't matter if you're in Texas, Michigan, New Jersey, whatever. You've got that license for your state, and you go to other states. Do not bite me, you heathen. Sorry. Um, Freaking bit my ankle.
It
I'm
was
gonna
a
pull
love
your
bite.
teeth out.
It was a love bite.
You hurt my ankle. I am not food. Sheesh.
Have you
Um,
have you fed them today?
yeah, I fed them lunch. I fed them breakfast. They've had 3 snacks today. I mean, their tummies should be full enough that they ain't trying to bite on my ankle. And he's been chewing on ice, so it's not like you just got to go chew on me. There's plenty of ice in the freezer that you can just go grab some and put it in a cup and chew on that. Leave me alone. You're not getting gummy bears. It's almost time for dinner. I want you to eat dinner.
I think I might want to do some reading on this and just try to look for some silver lining in it. I mean, here's one of the nice things about us having 50 states and a couple territories and all that, is that if you don't like the way things are in your state, you can move. You can move. And some things in your state are conducive to the environment, the geography, the topography, the industry that's there. Is it on the coast? Is it interior? The history of the state, whatever it is, there are some things about the states that kind of control what that state is like, the general atmosphere of the state. Having stuff like we all use the same currency, we all use the same form of measurement, we all pay the same for a postage stamp. We have certain federal labor laws and things like that. That is what the federal government is there for, to have some of these things be uniform across state lines. The fact that you can take your driver's license from one state and it's good in another state, and if you move there, you've got to get that state's license and so on and so forth. So that's what the federal government's there for. But when they try to give too much control to the federal government, like you were saying, the founding fathers would be rolling over in their graves. That's not why otherwise it wouldn't have been the United States of America. It would have just been in, the Federal Republic of America, and it would be just be one big country.
Well, I think that's where they're heading with it, or at least I think that's what the end game is. Get rid of states, that way they can have full power over everything. It's just bad. Any way you look at it, it's bad. I don't see how this is going to work out in anybody's favor. It's not going to stop terrorists. Anybody with any common sense whatsoever is going to realize that.
With any of this conspiracy theory stuff, though, what it requires is generations of politicians to change all this stuff. You would think if they wanted to take control, or they wanted this, or they wanted that, they meaning the politicians that are trying to go against the way our country's supposed to be governed and take control, why wouldn't they just do it now? Because the politicians that are in power now that are trying to gradually introduce this a little at a time will have been dead for decades by the time they do finally take over. So what do they get out of it? If you're not around for it, why would you even support it? So I don't get that. That's the only reason I don't buy into some of the conspiracies about the government taking over. They need to do it quickly if the people who are trying to implement it want to be around to rule us.
Who knows, man? Who knows? And maybe it's a long-term game. Maybe it's, hey, look, we started now, 20 years, where we want to be. Like I said,
But that's what I mean. In 20 years, Nancy Pelosi's going to be long dead. So what does she have to gain by planting a seed now that's going to bloom after she's a memory? Nothing. So I'm not saying that these people wouldn't take over if they could do it quickly and easily. But any of this long-term stuff, legacy? What? You're dead. Who cares? So I don't get it.
Well, think about it. In 20 years, somebody that's 20 years old, and they have been grooming to take over this kind of position, maybe it is a truly long-term situation that they're working toward. Take a little bit of control at a time until they get what they want, whatever their end game might be. The supposed one world government, who knows?
That's a scary thought.
It's all a scary thought, but it is, and it's like you said, could be considered a conspiracy theory. It's all theory until it's proven. So But we know for a fact that the real ID is coming. That's not a theory. We know for a fact that's on its way, and in 2 years it will be implemented fully. And I guess we as citizens are just going to sit back and see what comes of it. Maybe we're all just paranoid. Then again, maybe we're smart enough to know that this is a bad idea from the beginning. And I tend to lean on in that direction. I want the government to have as little control over anything and everything as possible. You know, anytime the government puts their fingers in something, it goes bad. They've proved it time and time again.
Yeah, they start overstepping their bounds, getting too big for the britches.
Yeah, they've tried it with healthcare. They've tried it with education. Every time the government gets involved, federal government gets involved with something, it goes shitty. So I, for one, say they need to keep their nose to themselves, do what we pay them to do, and understand that they work for us. We do not work for them. We are the bosses. But hey, guys, that's it for today. That's all we have. That's all we have time for. I appreciate everybody out there that's been sticking around listening to this. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Anybody out there is new to the show and you like what you hear, I do these shows every week. Do one on 11 o'clock Mondays. I do one 6:30 Eastern on Tuesdays. And I'm on other shows during the week. So you will catch me somewhere if you don't catch me on here. Also, next week I am going to start my Monday night show early next week. I'm going to start it at 10 instead of 11. Matt is going to start his show an hour early so we can get that roast going. That ought to be fun. We're doing the Never Enough Ammo roast next Monday night. It'll be at 10 instead of 11 Eastern. So mark that on your calendars if you want to be a part of that. That'll be a great show. We're going to have ourselves a blast. Squib, you got anything do you want to say? Plug?
Yeah, thanks for letting me weasel onto the show. I weasel on the shows all week long. So just appreciate the invite. And it's an interesting topic. Got me to think. I might even talk to Hawaii Volcano Squad about maybe doing Monday's Lock and Load on this. Maybe I could do some more research on it. And we've been struggling for a topic anyhow. So hope you don't mind if I borrow that.
You can take it and run with it, brother. Take it and run with it. I don't claim anything on this show. Anything I talk about on here, anybody can feel free to talk about on their show. I do not care. One of those things. Gunpowder, what you got?
I don't really have much going on, but everybody go check out Gun Gals. We have our live stream every Sunday at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We are on Patreon, gunchannels.com. If you're not a member on gunchannels.com, go over there, sign up. It's free. They are having a lot of great content creators. Everyone puts out a lot of great content, so make sure you go check out gunchannels.com.
Well, before we take off, I just got a question sent to me. I'm thinking about going back on the road to drive truck. Well, there's no Fed law saying I can't pack. Actually, I think there is a federal law saying that you can't have a gun in your truck as a truck driver. Not sure, but I think there might be.
I've got family in many different states, and each one of them pack.
Yeah, I would think that the Firearm Owners Protection Act of 1986, even though there are states that do not recognize it, it is a federal law, and I believe it would protect them. What would be the problem is if they don't own the
company
truck,
policy.
They're driving for company policy. They might lose their job if they ever were found to have that firearm or they had to use it to protect themselves.
Just make sure you get with a good company.
There was a story about a truck driving instructor who had a student with him. They were at a truck stop. and there was another truck blocking them, and he got out and walked over to the truck and said, "Hey, could you move your truck? We need to get out." And the other guy got combative with him, and he went back to the cab because he didn't know what to do, and the guy got out of his truck, walked over there, and climbed up the side of the truck and started threatening to do harm to him. And he says, "Hey, you don't want any of this. I have a gun." And the guy got down, got over, got in his truck, and drove away. Well, they said, "All right, he's gone." He never pulled the gun. He never anything. He just said, "You don't want any part of this. I got a gun." They were driving down the freeway, heading to wherever they were heading, and they get lit up, and the cops pull them over, and the cop says, "You got a gun in there?" And he said, "Yeah, I've got a gun in here." And it wasn't illegal. He wasn't breaking any laws about having the gun in the truck or anything like that. Somebody called and said that you pulled out and pointed at him, and they arrested the guy, put him in jail the whole weekend long. The judge wasn't available till Monday morning. They wouldn't let the guy out. They did let the student take the truck, and he was stuck in jail all weekend long, and he didn't have his diabetes medication, so he was hurting all week long. And the person who called in the threat, they never found him. The person never came in and filled out a report. They disappeared. They can never confirm the guy's identity or anything. They still tried to prosecute the guy. So just keep stories like that in mind if you decide that you want to. Even saying you have one could get you in trouble. It was in the middle of, sorry, Travis and Sandhills, it was in the middle of BF nowhere, Nebraska, where this happened, according to the story. And, it was a small podunk town and that sort of thing. So,
well, the question goes on to say this. Well, there's federal law. There's no federal law saying that I can't pack, but in many states that's got ridiculous gun laws, such as New York, I was wondering if carrying a flare gun would be something for somewhat adequate protection.
You're kidding, right?
That's what the question says. I don't think personally that a flare gun would be a good idea for personal protection. There's just so much that can go bad there real quick. You catch something on fire that you're not intending to, those things burn extremely hot. Squib, what's your opinion? I mean, a flare gun.
You remember the movie The Breakfast Club? Didn't the one nerdy kid end up in detention because he brought a flare gun to school for protection? I mean, no. I have a flare gun, a cap gun. No. You've either got a real tool for self-defense, or you use your fists, or you run them over with your truck, or you just don't go to those states. But you're not going to make any money long haul driving if you say, "I refuse to go to New Jersey, I refuse to go to New York." It's a tough call. It's a real tough call, because you should be able to protect yourself. If you own your own truck, you might be able to bring your dog with you. And for some people, a dog is better than a gun. So it just depends on what kind of person you are. But I mean, the whole flare gun thing, I don't. And I got to tell you, if you got pulled over and they searched your truck, if they found road flares, that'd be one thing. But if they found a flare gun, they might be suspicious. So, no.
This is why I would say, if you know you're going to have a chance to go through certain states that's going to have these ridiculously strict gun laws, first of all, make sure your concealed carry permit is permitted in those states first. Secondly, carry something that would be permitted in all states. Get you a 5-shot 38 revolver.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was going. Yep. That's gonna fit pretty much every state law.
Yeah.
But the problem is, though, some of them still may not recognize your permit.
Yeah.
And the Firearms Owners Protection Act 1986 is supposed to protect you. But there are those states out there that go, "We don't give a crap." It's just like the states that have those sanctuary cities. And the federal government doesn't step in and go, I'm sorry, but if you don't follow the law, we will penalize you. So it's both sides. The state governments and the federal government are not doing their job, unfortunately.
It boils down to knowing state law and what carry permits they accept, which ones they don't. And I say go the safe route. If you're going to be carrying in your truck, if your company allows for it without you losing your job, get you a revolver. That would be the best bet. 38, small 357. They're legal in every state. As far as I know, there's not a state out there that restricts revolvers. And chances are you're not ever going to need more than 1 or 2 rounds anyway. So that revolver will be plenty. As far as the flare gun, there's just so much can go wrong with that. I mean, really. Thing you hit somebody, it bounces off, it catches a house on fire, catches dry leaves on fire. It start a forest fire, burn down somebody's house. That's just not a good idea at all. I would avoid that. I really would avoid that. And does a flare gun actually hit hard enough to penetrate? I have very limited experience with flare guns, so I'm not even sure they would penetrate anybody.
Yeah, it's not.
I've got to be honest. I've never tried to shoot somebody with a flare gun.
Okay, you could. Well, you're definitely going to injure them really bad. I don't know about kill, but you're going to burn them. The thing is, though, it's not going to be as accurate as a bullet coming out of a barrel, and it doesn't have the range. I mean, yeah, you do fire them up in the air. That's what it's for, being out over the water, firing it up over in the air, and being able to be seen because there's no obstructions, and it should burn out before it comes down to the water, but if it doesn't, it's going to go into the water. Now, granted, it's magnesium; it'll keep burning, but it's going to extinguish itself. Yeah, you could set grass on the side of the road on fire. You could set your damn truck on fire. I mean, there's all kinds of issues with that. It's not. It's not a weapon. I mean, any tool could be used as a weapon. You could use a screwdriver as a weapon. So I guess you could try to use it that way, or you could hit them over the head with it. But that's, I mean, I'm having trouble even taking the question seriously. Get some mace.
Yeah, mace would work. Mace is a good option. Pepper spray,
Taser,
a taser.
stun gun.
Again, some states regulate tasers,
Yeah, that's true.
so you got to be careful there too.
And don't
Yeah, they
some
do here in
states
Michigan.
regulate a
It's stupid.
nightstick?
Absolutely stupid.
Oh yeah, they billy clubs, those are regulated. Flatjacks, those are regulated. Certain states.
So, you've been talking about Michigan. How long do you have to be living in Michigan before you can apply for your CO? Is it 6 months? Sorry, the garage is going down. My robot.
Yeah, no, you're not robot. Yeah, that's a thought. Somebody out in the chat, it was Beaverwood Outdoors. Black powder pistols. Those are not considered firearms by definition. So you could theoretically, if you wanted to take the time to load up a black powder pistol every day, carry one of those. And as far as I know, that would be legal in any state, period.
Okay, so say I was going to go visit family in Michigan. And while I'm there in Michigan, I'm going to drive for Uber. I'm not going to drive for Uber in Michigan, but this is just theoretical. So if anybody working for Uber is out there, just, go suck a fart up at a unicorn's butt. If I was driving for Uber, I could carry a black powder pistol because I don't necessarily have to have a license for it.
Yeah, I would say pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm sure. I've never seen a law say anything against carrying black powder. And when I'm saying black powder, I'm not talking about the old muzzleloaders. I'm talking about, the cap and ball revolvers.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the old 1858s or something like that. Just a non-cartridge firing revolver, cap and ball. And you can get them, and they make some real small, easily concealed.
Well, we've got some miscellaneous ideas going on right now, and one of the questions came up of how long in for your CHL or CCL or CTL or whatever it's called in Michigan. Someone said 6 months, and then it can take 4 months to get your license, which that would mean that's 10 months of me not being able to carry.
Ouch.
Yeah. And then someone said that in Michigan you've got a limit on how many guns you can have.
Well, I don't know about all that.
Before you have to,
And by.
So it's like if we were to have so many, would it be that if we wanted to go buy another one, we would have to apply for an FFL or something because we've got more than the amount that Michigan would have? Is that how it would go?
I'm not sure. I didn't even realize there was a limit to the amount of firearms you could have in Michigan.
Well, these are just conversations that Tardot and I've had with his dad that lives in Michigan, and he sold us one of the guns, actually the 1911, and it was because he wanted to go buy something else, but he was getting real close to the limit he was allowed to have. And
Okay, gunpowder. Sorry about that. You were talking about Michigan, but I walked out onto the factory. My roof inspector's done, so I was on the factory floor. So between the noise of the machines and the two people talking to me about deer hunting, I could not answer the. It's kind of weird being live on air at work. People look at me kind of funny because I'm walking around talking to no one. What was your question about Michigan?
that's okay, I understand. Is there a limit to how many guns you can have from Michigan?
No, you can have as many guns as you want. There's no restriction on firearms here. You can own NFA items if you pay your tax stamp, blah, blah, blah. You can have as many guns as you want. You can have any caliber you want. You can store as much ammunition in your home as you want. You can reload. There is no registration on long guns, but there is on handguns. You can do owner-to-owner sales. With long guns, you don't have to worry about extra paperwork, but with handguns, owner-to-owner sale, you would do extra paperwork. There's a lot of state-run gun ranges in the southeast area of Michigan, which is where most of the population is. But we don't allow people to go out in the woods and go shooting like you can go out in the open desert out west and go shooting. It's a little bit different there. You can shoot on your private land, but you have to have so much. It's got to be so far away, and it's got to have a berm. And there's if there's a local ordinance that says you can't discharge a firearm within city limits or something, you can't. That sort of thing. So.
Well, that's like Texas.
Michigan's a pretty gun-friendly state. So is Ohio. People here like their firearms.
So, if Tardot and I actually made plans, how long would we have to be in Michigan before we could apply for our CEHL or whatever it's
It's
called up
called
there?
a CPL here, concealed pistol license. It used to be a CCW, and it was a May issue, and they usually only gave them to people who own their own stores because they were taking bags of money to the bank. Well, they eventually got it to where they said anybody can have them, but then they let each county decide the rules about how you, and some counties were just shall issue. In other counties, you had to go in front of a board, or you had to get a doctor's note, or you had to explain why you needed it. And the governor came in and said, no, screw that. It's going to be shall issue in every county. And it's been pretty good since then. I believe it's about a 6-month, I think you have to be a resident for 6 months in order to get it. Don't quote me on that, but I can check and
Well,
get
that's
back
what
to you
I've
on
been.
that.
That's what
But
I've
you
been
can
told. Is
open
6
carry here.
months.
You don't need a permit to open carry here.
Are you serious?
You do not need it. You can walk right down the street with an AR-15. They're going to stop you. They're going to stop you because, people are going to be like, oh, but there's somebody. And the police are going to, and, once they check you out, they'll be like, all right, have a nice day. But yeah,
So
here you can open
I
carry
could
with anything.
open carry 11 and not have issues, but it's when I conceal carry that I'd have to have my permit.
Right. You have to have a permit to conceal carry. You need no permit to open carry here. But if you open carry, don't be surprised. Like, let's say you walk the dog. Don't be surprised if some little old lady looked out her window. Most citizens here don't know that open carry is legal. She's going to freak out, and she's going to call the cops, and they're going to come because they have to come, and they're going to ask for your ID, right? And they're going to, just make sure that you're legit, and then they're going to be like, all right, we just had some people that are scared. We had to show up. Sorry. Have a nice day, and off you go. But, yeah, when I go to the rallies in Lansing, well, I've only gone to 2 of them. One time I was open carrying, and the other time I didn't. But yeah, it's not a big deal. And same thing in Ohio. You can open carry in Ohio without a permit, but conceal carry you have to have a permit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, look, it's kind of like this. There are places that get the national news, that get the attention, where they've got all these issues, and the people there they didn't grow up around guns or hunting or something. I'm sure you got it there in Texas. Everybody in Texas probably hunts. There's a lot of people here that hunt or have family that has always hunted. Even the people that don't hunt, maybe their dad or their grandpa always hunted, so they've been around this stuff. There are some, the younger people here that don't own guns or aren't into guns, but their dad or their grandpa or their uncle, so they're not really so much afraid of them. But it's interesting, though, that people here are just like in any other state, and they don't know the laws. So that's the only thing you have to contend with, is some people that they have no idea that it's legal to own a suppressor, or that open carry is legal. That's all. Some of the hunting laws are a little bit weird as far as what caliber you can use, because there's 3 zones in the state. And like down here, I got to use a 44 Magnum. But up north, I can use a 30-06.
It's just a matter of what the land looks like around where you're shooting, I guess.
I think it has to do with population density and that sort of thing. That's another one. Don't quote me on it. But there's the west side of the state, the north end of the state, and the southeast. And the southeast is where the most people are. Interestingly enough, that's probably where the most deer are, because we have a lot of deer accidents out here. If I walk out behind the factory into the little bit of woods that we've got separating us from the other, there's deer in those woods. That's what we were actually talking about when I couldn't answer your question. We were talking about the fact that they cross right down through the parking lot at night. And when we're leaving, when second shift is over, it would be very easy for one of us to hit a deer pulling out onto the street here.
Holy crap.
Oh yeah, they're all over. I lived in a township. It used to be kind of rural. Now it's more urban. And deer, I almost backed over a deer, was it Friday night? Yeah, I was on Edge's show. And I'm coming home. It's 11:30 at night. And I'm backing up my driveway. And there's this deer standing there. And I can't back up. And, I probably should have just ran it over, and then we would have had some meat. But whatever.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the night. I am going to cut this one off. That one question took us down a whole nother rabbit hole. But that's okay. That's why we're here.
Pretty much.
Hey, guys, I appreciate everybody that's been listening. Thank you, Squib. Thank you, Gunpowder. Guys, I'm still holding that thing for Night Strike. We're trying to get enough money together to get him a carry gun. We've got about $215 so far saved up for it. I'm trying to get right around that $300 mark. I'm going to send him the money that I have next week. So anybody that wants to help out and donate a little bit, just send the money to my PayPal account. It's ellishatfield@gmail.com. And let's get together and get him something nice for concealed carry. He's having issues with funds right now. He's putting everything he's got into gun tube, trying to get that up and going. He's trying to get everything else working out for him, and he's just having some issues right now. And I figured this was $10, whatever you can afford. Anyway, that's it for the night, guys. Y'all take care. Y'all have fun, and I will catch you next Monday.